Bora lá, guys. Pra esperança. A gente já tá em esperança, será? A gente tem que ir pra Tártaro, admirável mundo novo. Você está pra chegar. É, a missão final, né? Salvar um novo jogo.
I am pleased to inform you that we have arrived at the labyrinth. Please be advised that the punishment for trespassing is execution.
De boa.
Please be advised that electrical storms on the surface of Tartarus make departure impossible at this time.
Por favor, esteja ciente de que a tempestade já dá.
Resident count is as follows: 3,071. Resident deaths, including but not limited to executions, are as follows:
0.
1,684. Resident escapes are as follows: 0. The interior can be chilly. Take a scarf with you, Captain. I would also ask that you leave your captain's ID with me, in the event that you do not return. I can make the assurance that I will not leave with another captain unless you do not return within 876,541,652 hours. Oh, speak of the devil. Captain, I am receiving a transmission from the prison's docking authority now.
Attention, unauthorized spacecraft. This is a maximum security installation. Your presence here is an explicit violation of UDL corporate policy. You are hereby confined to your docking platform until a ticket detailing your crimes has been filed and notarized, at which point your vessel will be seized and you will be executed.
Pelo exposto, você está confinado à plataforma de tração até que um documento detalhado de seus crimes seja registrado e autenticado. Por momentos que seu nome seja. Isso vai levar quanto tempo? Putz, de todos os lugares para ser preso, que merda, pessoas.
I wager it'll take a bit longer than it takes you to lose your patience and storm out of your ship looking to get shot. To be honest, that'd make my job a lot easier. You come out, we shoot you full of holes, and then everyone goes about their day worry-free. Except you.
You are
You'll
dead.
be dead.
Caralho, viado, que responsa, mano. Eu não sei o que eu falo, rapaziada. Eu tô entre os 3 primeiros ali, intimidar, mentir e persuadir. Acho que eu vou mentir.
Wait, you're the stylist? Thank the law you're here. Everyone knows how particular the chairman is about his eyebrows. Here, take my biometric ID instead. Anyway, Tartarus Docking Authority signing up. Hang on. Another ship just pulled into your dock. Wait, is that from the Groundbreaker? What the? Pay no mind to that. Just have a pleasant day.
Transmission terminated. Biometric ID received. Transferring data to external cartridge. How can I be of assistance?
Mano, eu não sei como que eu fiz isso, não. Valeu, Ada.
Goodbye.
Bora lá. Sem enrolação. Tártaros. Itens impecáveis são mais do que brilhantes. Eles têm mais durabilidade, velho, mas para os vendedores. Ixi, tem umas armas minhas que tá valendo R$1.000, filho. Vou vender não, vou fazer NFT. Aonde que é isso? É ali mesmo.
The captain did right by us once. Now it's time. The board will never own Groundbreaker. Not while I read. Push on, car, Dad.
Preciso achar algum lugar pra me esconder agora. Ou não. Nossa, esse bagulho de identificação pra passar suave é muito suave. Me ramou, hein? Puta vida. Coisa de FPS. 137, 146. Aqui que tá fechado também. 90. 90, 100, tá bom. Um joguinho de história, fi. Excelente. É em cima? Uhum. Ai! Caramba, quanta coisa. Vamos ver. 387, 387, 385. Não, não. 44. Nossa, que triste. Tá porra, 113. A minha acho que é mais ainda, mano. 123. Uma máquina de vendas. Será que eu tô mutado? Não, né? Espero que não, não. Tem mais coisa pra colocar aqui? Já instalei tudo já. Bonito. Dourado. Certo, não tem nada não. Vamos lá. O poço. Fechado ali. O bom que é isso, né? Eu posso passar. E os caras não vai me parar.
Get in there, troops. For Monarch. For Halcyon.
Caralho. E esses caras aqui não vai lá não? Ah, ninguém mandou se ele não me ver. Só tô distraído ali. Vantagem. Remover lacre da porta. Isso aí. Ô, presidente.
Well, look who it is. I'll be damned. I was prepping the studio for our announcement, and here you are as a bonus. When you go off and get yourself shot, try to avoid taking one to the face. I'll want it recognizable to show to my citizens. Haven't you heard? Phineas is working for us now. It took some doing, but employing an efficient management strategy of putting our guns to his head seems to have done the trick. Yes, he is an extraordinarily obstinate fellow, isn't he? Fine, he isn't working for us per se. Semantics, he'll come around. But that's between us. As far as my adoring citizens will know, we've turned a dangerous crackpot into a working-class man. It's a miracle.
Calma aí, deixa eu dar um mijão ali, rapaziada. Do espelho. Bora lá, voltamos. Mas isso fica entre nós. Até onde os devotados cidadãos sabem, nós transformamos um louco furioso em um homem da classe trabalhadora. É um milagre. Esse louco furioso está salvando os clones congelados que você largou de mão.
Oh yes, go on, wake them up, add more mouths to feed. That'll solve our starvation problems. I don't know what half-baked plans that simpleton in a lab coat has been leading you through, but it's done. It's over. Let me ask you something, Captain. Have you at any point thought about not fucking up our entire society? Oh, right. This coming from the psychopathic outlaw. Yes, I'll try to be more open-minded about your path of wanton dissent. We don't need your help.
Entendeu, né? Os caras fightam. Opa. Licença aqui, tá? Não precisa me acertar não, caralho. Eu não fiz nada não.
Captain, you have an uncanny talent for complicating my life. You've disrupted the balance of power. You've upset the natural order of things. You've introduced uncertainty, and there is nothing I despise more than uncertainty.
Ai, meu Deus.
Typical. Running your mouth in the middle of a crisis. It's almost as if you delight in chaos. I should have dealt with you a long time ago. You were always too dangerous to leave unchecked. Leaving you alive was my greatest mistake. But it is a mistake I intend to correct.
Só vim.
I have Dr. Wells in my custody. Once I've secured his cooperation, I can move forward with the program. I can repair the damage you've done. I can set things right.
Caramba, hein? Ai, ai, ele é meu amigo, mano.
In that we are in agreement. An end to violence is precisely what I want. An end to chaos. An end to senseless loss of life. The only obstacle standing in my way is you. I take no pleasure in this, you know. I simply have no other option. Leaving you alive is too great a risk. Goodbye, Captain. If you insist.
Cai dentro, cara.
This prison is equipped with an automechanical warden. I've had it programmed to eliminate you on sight and rinse your remains down a drain. And don't worry. I will inform Dr. Wells that you died heroically, or something.
Se ele for bom. Aquele ali? Vamos lá, então. Não tem medo de robô, não, filho. Nossa senhora! Fortinho, hein? Vamos lá, então. Tem que trabalhar um pouquinho aqui. Meu Deus, velho, o que é isso? 3.000? Eu não consigo trocar, por quê? Ah, porque eu tava com ela na mão. Talvez. Vou gastar essa bala não, mano. Ô, meu Deus, calma aí. Calma minha bala aqui, calma aí, irmão. Aí. Tem munição aqui não? Isso aqui parece ser fraca, mano. Deixa eu pegar essa aqui. Era tudo que eu queria mesmo. Aqui. Porra. Filhas da puta. Muito ruim, pio. Cadê aquela... Essa daqui? Damn, bro. Tem alguma coisa aqui não. Ô, mulher. Aí, ó, falei. Falei que você ia morrer. Desculpa aí. Doutor, deixa eu upar. Bloqueio eu tô bem até. Geólogo eu tô bem. Furtividade, zagueiro gazua. Medicina, ciência. O que mais? Vou colocar em arma brancas. Sobrou um. Vou colocar em pistolas. Pronto, tá bom. Talentos. Bom. Bora, Phineas. Ferbe.
You don't know how glad I am to see you. You did the right thing. Akande was a monster. Her death was much deserved, and long overdue. And you lunatic, you broke into the board's own fortress just to rescue one doddering old man. You are absolutely out of your mind, and I can't begin to thank you enough.
Obrigado, velho.
I know, my friend, I know. And now it's finally over. The board's finished. It's only a matter of time before the entire system slips from their grasp. You've broken the board's stranglehold on this colony, and you saved my life. But there's still so much we have yet to accomplish. You and I are going to have to work harder than ever to save Halcyon. I'm afraid the situation is far worse than any of us ever anticipated. Earth has gone dark. We haven't received a single message in 3 years. There's been no communication, no signals, nothing. 2 years ago, the Earth's Directorate's frigate disappeared on their way back to Earth. We don't know what they discovered when they arrived, or if they arrived at all. We're in serious trouble, my friend. Do you know what this means for Halcyon? We can't rely on Earth for support anymore. We've been cut loose. We're entirely on our own. Yes, certainly. I'll help however I can. I heard it from Akande herself. She tried to pressure me into joining her side, you see. Tried to make me realize that all hope is lost, and that we are alone. She was half right. We are alone, and we're going to have to fend for ourselves, because there's no telling what's happened to Earth. You might have heard of the Earth Directorate's frigate. Half the colony's entire military was on that ship. They were returning to Earth when they vanished without a trace. That was 2 years ago. We haven't heard a word from them since. Whatever happened to Earth likely happened to them. Yes, Akande mentioned as much. Earth hasn't sent us a single message in 3 years. No one knows why. Akande had kept the truth to herself, perhaps with good reason. Can you imagine what would have happened if word got out? We'd have utter pandemonium. I don't know what happened, but something must have gone horribly wrong. I don't know why Earth's gone silent. I don't even know if Earth exists anymore. We have no connection back to Earth, and return is likely impossible. We're completely alone out here.
Tinha uma
Yes,
pergunta ali que eu queria
Akande
fazer.
mentioned as much. Earth hasn't sent us a single message in 3 years. No one knows why. Akande had kept the truth to herself, perhaps with good reason. Can you imagine what would...
Esse não, esse daqui, ó.
I wasn't trying to hide the truth from you, but after all you've done, I owe you an explanation. Yes, I experimented on the Hope's colonists. Each of my experiments ended in catastrophic failure. Each of my subjects died in agony. You are my first and only success. I didn't tell you about the others because I didn't want to burden you. My failures are my own to bear, not yours. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Law knows I won't forgive myself, but I'm going to try to set things right.
Ele tá fazendo a coisa
My
certa, eu acredito.
apologies. I need to get a hold of myself. We've far more pressing issues to worry about right now. If you have any more questions, ask me. I'll answer as best I can. Yes, we do. You've done a marvelous thing. You've succeeded where anyone else would have failed, including me. We must begin the revival process immediately, starting with the Hope's brightest minds, and then we're going to fix this damn colony, one problem at a time. We're going to need a leader, and I can't imagine a better person for the job than you. What do you say, old friend? Will you help us? I doubt I could change your mind even if I wanted to. You've already done more than I could ask of you. When I revived you, I thought we were going to save this colony all by ourselves. But I was wrong. We can't save Halcyon on our own. We're all going to have to pull together, somehow. We are not a colony anymore. Our last connection to Earth has been severed. I don't know if we'll survive, but we're going to have to try our best.
Pô, você tá o tempo todo vivo, doutor? Consegue sim, mano.
The OSI teaches that everything in the universe happens according to the grand plan. But the stranger that arrived in Halcyon was an unplanned variable. From the moment he landed in Emerald Vale, his actions altered the course of history. The events on Tartarus brought about the end of the board's authority. But the board's mistakes would haunt the colony for decades to come. The damage they left behind would require the work of a generation to repair. Dr. Phineas Wells began reviving a handful of the Hope's colonists. Engineers, scientists, technicians, and intellectuals. They were among the brightest minds the Earth had ever sent out into the stars. The Hope scientists and engineers woke up in a colony descending headlong into total collapse. With no way to return to Earth, they had no choice but to band together and devote themselves to the cause of saving Halcyon. The people of Halcyon were nothing if not hardy. In the absence of the board's authority, many of the colony's settlements banded together with a single purpose in mind: survival. Life was especially hard in the years to come. Some towns dissolved by attrition and starvation, but most of them found a way to carry on. In the years to come, Halcyon was forced to reckon with its newfound freedom. The board was gone, and for better or worse, the colony was responsible for its own destiny. As the colony struggled to survive, the inspirational story of the iconoclasts spread like wildfire, and Graham was able to bring many of the smaller Terra 2 townships into the fold. However, his zealous obsession with spreading the word blinded him to the needs of a growing organization, and the movement was unsustainable at scale. The iconoclast way seemed to work best, and ultimately petered out on Monarch. Sublight Salvage adapted to the changes in Halcyon, shifting their business model to suit the times. Their claims of legitimacy were scrutinized, but ultimately unquestioned. Lilia Hagen would continue to protect her
Sublight tá
family
suave.
as ruthlessly as ever. The collapse of Edgewater left its workers bereft of any purpose in life. Most of them made their way to Adelaide McDevitt's camp, hoping to ingratiate themselves into her favor. Adelaide accepted only a few to her community. The rest were turned away and likely died of starvation.
Bom,
Nevertheless, Adelaide's camp grew into a well-established town. Adelaide McDevitt refused to cooperate with the ongoing effort to save Halcyon from collapse. A sympathetic deserter stole a copy of her research and delivered it to the Hope's scientists. It is unclear how useful Adelaide's research was. An optimistic estimate suggests her work may have bought Halcyon another few years
que
of
pena.
survival. Adelaide would never know. She died that winter. Under the leadership of Junlei Tennyson, the groundbreaker held firm against corporate influence. The ship's mechanical stability gave Junlei the time to educate a promising generation of engineers, schooled in her family's traditions. The future of the groundbreaker
Bom.
looks promising.
Foi o primeiro
The
planeta que eu fui, né?
rediscovery of the Hope and the abandonment of the lifetime employment program forced Byzantium to come to terms with some uncomfortable realities about the state of Halcyon. While Byzantines were reluctant to surrender the luxuries they'd grown accustomed to, the board's diminished authority gave them little choice in the matter. Nearly everyone had to learn to make do with less. Some even had to get jobs. It
Parecendo
was
São
a
Paulo.
dark time indeed. Even the Gorgon asteroid, though a distant enigma to most of Halcyon, felt the aftershocks of your actions.
How?
The destroyed Adrenatime synthesizer became a symbol of the board's cruelty and a rallying point for Wells and his scientists as they sought to build a more humane, ethical Halcyon. They cleared the dead from Gorgon's laboratories and repurposed them to aid in the crucial work of solving the colony's nutrition crisis. With nothing to show for her years of effort, Minnie Ambrose finally gave up on Project Gorgon. Though Gorgon was not the end of her aspirations, failure cast a long shadow that haunted her for years to come. She never forgot the intrepid freelancer who betrayed her and offered many a bitter toast in his name. The Gorgon Project's final explosive end was bittersweet for Olivia Ambrose. She wandered the colony's fringes alone, searching for others like her who despised the board and meant to destroy them. In time, she found Phineas Wells and his cadre of scientists, and she joined them in their efforts to save Halcyon. For a while, she even knew an uneasy peace. But for all that, Olivia found purpose in Wells' project. She was always haunted by the knowledge that Minnie, the bright daughter she'd so grievously wronged, refused to work beside her. She never did forgive herself for the horror her work had wrought on Halcyon. But she remembered fondly the daring captain who'd let her daughter live. In spite of everything, the Gorgon asteroid remained a sobering reminder of the potential for progress and disaster in humanity's most ambitious efforts. The Rizzo's company in Halcyon dissolved after the collapse of the board. Needless to say, the launch of Spectrum Brown was indefinitely delayed. A stockpile of Spectrum Brown remains buried deep beneath the ruins of the old distillery, abandoned to time and attrition. With the dissolution of the board, Ruth Bellamy found herself without the two constants in her life: Byzantine culture and her sister Belinda. In the face of this new reality, she struggled to find a direction for her life. The colony had moved on from Halcyon Helen and would require new heroes in the years to
Foi
come.
viver solitária sozinha.
And so Ruth Bellamy decided it was time to exit stage left. She quietly disappeared from public view. The dissolution of the board did not mean the dissolution of the ambitions of Cedric Kincannon, the charismatic leader of Sublight Underground. Cedric offered Slug's transportation services to the newly thawed colonists and set to work ferrying resources
mano aí, ele
and
era-
food wherever they were most needed.
Ele era justo. Justo não, né? Mas
For
ele era.
better or
Como que eu vou
worse,
falar? Verdadeiro.
Slug headgear became fashionable in the following years. As the board began to disintegrate, Spencer Woolrich found himself at a crossroads. Cling to what little stardom remained to him, or help usher Halcyon into its new future. To the surprise of many, perhaps himself most of all, Spencer chose the latter option. Having learned a variety of different skills in the many different roles played throughout his lengthy career, Spencer founded a radio serial dedicated to staying alive despite the odds. His
Esse era o ator,
subjects
né?
included
Nossa, eu não gostei desse cara.
how to survive violent encounters with only grazing wounds, dispense pithy one-liners for tense scenarios, and, of course, how to look good doing both. After a brief attempt at dating Helen as one person rather than two, which both Bertie and Helen found too strange, Bertie struck out on his own to try his hand at raising woolly cows. Many of his former Rangers teammates soon followed, accompanied by the woolly cow the team had originally plied with
Esse lá acabou
alcohol.
bonitinho, né? Peluda.
The dairy farm thrived under Bertie's leadership and care. The dairy rangers privately believed that the woolly cows softened Bertie's temper considerably, although the only one brave enough to say this to his face was promptly headbutted. Due to the board's dissolution, many of the Prophet's old customers no longer found quite the same value in productivity seminars that they once had. With her business drying up, the Prophet chose to take her followers down a new path. Months later, salvagers on Eridanos found clues leading them to a seemingly abandoned bunker out in the wilderness. Inside, they discovered horribly mangled corpses, sacrificed to a blood-scrawled portrait of a sprat-headed deity. The Prophet was not among the bodies.
Só é louco.
After all he'd seen and heard adventuring with you, the vicar Maximilian de Soto renounced his faith and joined the effort to rebuild the colony. Ironically, he finally found the joy that had eluded him over the course of his life, and realized that perhaps he was always meant to be just a simple laborer after all. He quickly dismissed the idea. Though Parvati eventually grew comfortable aboard the Unreliable, she never quite came out of her shell. She seemed to prefer the company of Ada to the crew, and she could often be found neck-deep in cables and grease, telling Ada funny stories from her childhood. While the colony fell into chaos, she found an island of relative peace with Ada, and they formed an unusual bond. She decided to remain aboard the
Que
Unreliable
bom, mano. Ela
permanently
merece.
as its chief and sole engineer. As hard as she tried to drink them away, Nyoka's memories eventually overcame her. Traveling with the crew served as a constant reminder of the family she'd lost, and so she eventually returned to Monarch to get back to what she found most comfortable: the deep end of a bottle and the far end of a trail. Few have seen her since, but travelers often swear they hear her and her machine gun in the night, screaming swears
Se achando badass, aí vai
and
morrer.
spitting bullets. Before his untimely death, Captain Alex Hawthorne had plans to restore and modify, for combat purposes, a sanitation and maintenance automechanical that he'd found in a state of disrepair in Emerald Vale's scrapyard. That unit remains broken down and forgotten in the Unreliable supply closet to this day. Minister Clark was released from house arrest, and his contact with you gave him a sense of renewed purpose and vigor. Once it became clear that no help would be coming from Earth, he threw his considerable efforts and talents into helping Halcyon manage the crisis before it. As for Dr. Phineas Wells, he spent his remaining years in his orbital lab. Though he was always haunted by the failures of his past, he was determined to make things right by building toward the future. Dr. Wells was able to revive many more scientists and engineers than he first expected, thanks to the additional batch of chemicals you stole from the Ministry. Wells never forgot about the human lives that were lost in acquiring these chemicals. The revival project was hard and painful work, but in the end, despite limited resources, over half the Hope's colonists were successfully revived. Even after Wells passed away, the Hope scientists and engineers worked night and day to pull Halcyon from the brink of collapse. Their efforts continue to this day, which may be reason enough for optimism. Dr. Wells laid the groundwork for the project to save the colony, but he would never live to see the fruits of his labor. He passed away a few years later. His work was carried on by the scientists and
Rest in
engineers
peace.
he revived. Life will never be the same in Halcyon. It is widely agreed that the colony has a chance of stabilizing within a generation, owing to the hard work and determination of the surviving colonists. Recovery is a distant goal, and the path is long and uncertain. But the people of Halcyon carry on, determined as ever. And what about you, the unplanned variable in the history of Halcyon? You brought an end to the chaos on Tartarus, and left Dr. Wells to his own devices. The affairs of the colony never distracted you from living out your own dreams, to captain a ship, to sail the ether, and to earn a reputation
Porra,
as the greatest spacer Halcyon ever had.
que currículo bom, hein?
No one knows what's happened to Earth, and no one knows what the future has in store for Halcyon. All we know for certain is this: the name of the Unreliable and that of its intrepid captain will remain the
Yes.
subject of countless stories for years to come.
É isso. Mais um jogo completado. Sensação de... Bom, galera, o joguinho, mano, não é ruim não, tá ligado? Também não é bom, mas é legal, mano, é legal, é divertido. Gostei bastante das sidequests desse jogo do que das missões principais, não vou mentir, mano. Tanto é que eu fiz as duas, né? Era só duas e eu fiz as duas. Mas o jogo é bom, mano, não é ruim não. É bom, não é ruim. Mas também não é ótimo, mas ele é bom. Da hora, eu gostei, mano. É, eu fiz as duas DLCs eu fiz. Assassinato Ligeiro é recomendado para os jogadores, tá? É isso, rapaziada, tamo junto, viu? Valeu aí vocês aí que acompanharam essa série aí. 15 inscritos no canal, valeu aí, mano, só agradeço. E vamos que vamos. Tamo junto aí até a próxima série no canal aí. Valeu.